Hello! Have you come to join our Secret Agents investigation training? Yes, great. We had lots of fun yesterday investigating, do we need Jesus? Today's big question is, who is Jesus? And we're going to have some songs and we're going to have crafts and our Bible story to help us answer the big question. Do you know what I saw yesterday? I saw some cool action videos by Jonathan and Joshua and Ben and Libby. Well done, guys. Mark's going to do some magic and let us all see them at some point. But everyone else can join in. You can find the songs on the bottom of the video of the Holiday Club page, and you can watch the actions and learn them and film yourself. Send them into the video link as well. You could also email us if you want to and tell us what you're enjoying about Kids Club, about Secret Agents. You can tell us where you're watching from. We'd love to know. Have fun today. We'll see you soon.
Oh, I love this bit. He's drawing.
Oh, I know what it is, Bill. It's our secret agent.
There's his hat, big ears. I love him.
He's looking at the evidence, isn't he, Bill?
He's thinking hard. He always looks up in the air when he's thinking.
Yeah, he works out what really happened.
He's got his fat fingers over his face as he thinks.
Thinking deeply. I wonder if he's got his notepad with him today.
He always has his notepad. There it is! You knew it was coming,
He's
you
lost
kidder.
his pen.
He doesn't need a pen. He's written down his facts. He's thinking, that's what we're doing, working it out from the Bible. Balls in the air with a hat.
Balls in
What?
the air?
Oh, it's a jester's hat.
What's a jester's hat?
It's someone who makes stuff up. He tells lies. He tells jokes. Jesus said he was the king, but was he just making it up? Telling jokes.
Oh, I see. A jester's hat and a crown. Oh, I know what we're working out today.
Is Jesus really the king? Does he really have that power?
Jesus said he was God himself. Today he's got to prove it.
Let's go!
Yes!
If God made the sun and set the stars ablaze, made up the heavens to declare his praise, if God built the mountains and he filled the sea, God must be great, great enough for me to fully trust him. When the going gets tough, yeah, we can trust him. God is able enough to keep us standing, whatever may come our way. Our God's unfailing, from the first to the last, he's never changing. Future, present, and past, our God's amazing, and we can put our trust in him. If God freed his people from the Pharaoh, rise up for judgment down in Jericho. If God rescued Daniel from the lion's den, God must be great, really great, so then we ought to trust him. When the going gets tough, yeah, we can trust him. God is able enough to keep us standing, whatever may come our way. Our God's unfailing, from the first to the last, he's never changing. Future, present, and past, our God's amazing, and we can put our trust in him. Love when Jesus died for me, died with my sin, I got his guarantee. If God proved it all when Jesus rose again, God must be great, really great, so then we ought to trust him. When the going gets tough, yeah, we can trust him. God is able enough to keep us standing, whatever may come our way. Our God's unfailing, from the first to the last, he's never changing. Future, present, and past, our God's amazing, and we can put our trust in him. Yeah, we we can trust Him. God is able enough to keep us standing, whatever may come our way. Our God's unfailing, from the first to the last, He's never changing. Future, present, and past, our God's amazing, and we can put our trust in Him. Every word of your word is true. They were all breathed out by you. Your spirit wrote through men like a pen in the hand of a God who knew that we would need to know how much you love us so. You wrote it down for us forever. Oh, from Genesis to Revelation, there's one story of your great salvation. It's all about Jesus, oh, it's all about Jesus. Shout it out from every page, there's one hero that'll save the day. It's all about Jesus, oh, it's all about Jesus. Every word of your word gives light, like the sun that shines so bright. It leads us day by day to the one, the way, the truth, the life. And every time we read, you give us what we need to grow in grace and know you better. Oh, from Genesis to Revelation, there's one story of your great salvation. It's all about Jesus, oh, it's all about Jesus. Shout it out from every page, there's one hero that'll save the day. It's all about Jesus, oh, it's all about Jesus. From Genesis to Revelation, there's one story of your great salvation. It's all about Jesus, oh, it's all about Jesus. Shout it out from every page, there's one hero that'll save the day. It's all about Jesus, oh, it's all about Jesus. Jesus is the King, ruler over everything. Jesus is the one, promised one, the Son of God. Jesus is the Lord, He's the one you can't ignore. Jesus, Jesus, He is the King. He is the King. He commanded the fishermen, hey, come follow me. And they did. And they did, and they did, because Jesus is the King, ruler over everything. Jesus is the one, promised one, the Son of God. Jesus is the Lord, He's the one you can't ignore. Jesus, Jesus, He is the King. He is the King. He commanded the wind and waves, hey, be still, be still. And they did, and they did, and they did, because Jesus is the King, ruler over everything. Jesus is the one, promised one, the Son of God. Jesus is the Lord, He's the one you can't ignore. Jesus, Jesus, He is the King. He is the King. He promised that 3 days after death He'd rise again. And He did, and He did, and He did, because Jesus is the King, ruler over everything. Jesus is the one, promised one, the Son of God. Jesus is the Lord, can't ignore Jesus. Jesus, He is the King. He is the King.
I've got some questions for you. I wonder if you can guess who I'm talking about with these clues. Okay, the first clue is one of the most famous people in the world. You got it? Okay, the next one is that they live in London. One more clue. Okay, another clue is it's a lady. Have you got it now? Okay, last clue. I think that nearly everyone will have some pictures of this person in their house. Do you know who it is now? It's the Queen. There's a picture of the Queen's head on all our coins and all our stamps, so nearly every house has got some pictures of the Queen in them. Now that was a little bit of secret agent brain training, because we've been using our brains to find out some questions this week, haven't we? Yesterday we had some clues about Jesus. We learned that He can forgive sins, and we learned that He can make a man walk. And that taught us that we need Jesus. Today we're going to ask some more questions about who Jesus is. So let's go investigating.
Good morning and hello there. My name is Isaac Hepburn and I'm going to do a reading from Luke chapter 7 verse 11 to 17. Jesus raises a widow's son. Soon afterward, Jesus went to a town called Nain, and His disciples and a large crowd went with Him. As He approached the town gate, a dead person was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow, and a large crowd from the town was with her. When the Lord saw her, His heart went out to her, and He said, "Do not cry." He went up and touched the bier that they were carrying on. The bearer stood still. He said, "Young man, I say to you, get up." The dead man sat up and began to talk, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. They were all filled with awe and praised God. "A great prophet has appeared among us," they said. "God has come to help His people." The news about Jesus spread throughout Judah and the surrounding country. Goodbye.
Jesus and the widow's son, from Luke chapter 7, verses 11 to 17. The town was rising up slowly in the distance. Walking along the road, leading a large crowd, was Jesus. He was setting a steady pace as He made His way towards the town. The crowd, who included His disciples, had just seen Jesus show His power and His care by healing a servant girl with just a word. As they approached this new town, a town called Nain, they wondered whether Jesus would have another opportunity to show how powerful and caring He was. They wouldn't have to wait long. While Jesus' crowd was still some way off, there was an even bigger crowd coming slowly out of the city gates. As this crowd walked, you could hear the cries and screams of people in mourning. Leading this procession was a widow bent over with sorrow. She had tears streaming from her eyes, and she looked like someone who had lost all hope. Directly behind her were 4 men who marched slowly in unison. On their shoulders they carried a coffin, the coffin of this widow's only son. Her whole life seemed ruined and without hope. Slowly and steadily, the procession moved forward along the road that led out of the town. The cries of anguish continued to echo loudly in the air. It wasn't long before the crowd with Jesus saw the funeral procession. Quickly, the crowd coming towards the city moved off to the side of the road. They all had their heads bowed with respect as they saw the widow leading this procession for her dead son. everyone stood off to the side except for one person. Jesus stayed standing on the road, directly in front of the widow. When he had seen this lady, his heart went out to her, and he felt such care and compassion towards her. He reached out his hand and said in a soft and gentle voice, "Don't cry." Don't cry? To say don't cry to a woman who had just lost her only son? How cruel these words could have sounded. But when Jesus spoke these words, he wasn't being cruel. Jesus could say them because Jesus is the one who has all power, and he cares for people. The men carrying the coffin stood still with shocked looks on their faces. What were they to do? They watched, growing more and more nervous, as Jesus walked up past the widow towards the coffin. Slowly he raised his hand and he touched it. The mourners and the widow gasped in horror. For a stranger to touch a dead man's coffin, it was just wrong. Then Jesus spoke in a firm and steady voice. The words echoed around like thunder. "Get up!" he commanded. Get up? To say get up to a dead person in front of their family and their friends, well, that's just cruel. And it's also stupid. Dead people can't get up, they're dead. But when Jesus said these words, they weren't stupid and they weren't cruel. Because Jesus is the one who has all power, and Jesus is the one who cares. The men carrying the coffin were horrified. How could this man say such a thing? They were thinking about putting the coffin down to push the man away when they felt the coffin move. And as they slowly lifted their eyes, the widow's son sat up and began talking to them. Gasps and screams and cheers rose from the crowd as they realized that this young man was no longer dead. He was alive! Jesus had shown his power by raising a dead person back to life. The crowds looked on as the coffin bearers quickly put the coffin down. They stood there in astonishment as Jesus reached out and gently took the boy by the hand. Slowly, Jesus helped the boy step over the coffin edge and onto solid ground. He then led the boy towards his mother. She put out her arms carefully, unsure whether all this was happening or whether it was just a wonderful, wonderful dream. As she touched her son with her own two hands, a sudden wave of happiness came over her. This man, Jesus, had cared for her so much that he had given back her son, her only son. Soon the sound of partying filled the air. People were shouting and clapping and jumping up and down. Cheers and praises filled the sky. As people considered what they had just seen, they were overwhelmed with joy. They had seen Jesus show in the most amazing and spectacular way that he cares for people who are hurting. But even more than that, they had seen that Jesus had power like no one else. He could even bring the dead back to life. And so they praised him loudly.
Have any of you ever been to a farm? How about a pig farm? When I was young, one of my best friends had a farm, and on it they had lots of these little guys. Except this one is kind of cute and doesn't stink. The farm that I was on had a lot of these guys, and I can tell you, they stank. Like, it was the worst smell I have ever experienced. A shed full of pigs, and the smell was thick. It stuck to your skin, it stuck to your clothes, it stuck to your hair. You just had to walk into that place for a second, and when you came out, you smelled like pig. It didn't matter if you washed, it didn't matter how much soap you used, it didn't matter how much of this nice aftershave I used. I still smelled like pig because the smell was so strong. Didn't matter how good I smelled going into that pig shed. The pigs never smelt like me. I always ended up smelling like them. In our story today, there's the story of a man who was dead. And for the Jews at that time, death was a bit like that experience I had with the pigs. It stank. You couldn't be near death without being affected by death, without becoming what they called unclean. If you touched a dead person, it didn't matter how clean before you were, you would become unclean. The dead person never took on your cleanliness, your cleanness. So in this story, Jesus comes to a town called Nain. There's a big crowd with him. And at the entrance to this town, outside the gates, he encounters a grieving woman, a widow, and she has lost her only son. He has died and he is being carried to the place where he's going to be buried. Jesus sees this woman and he has such compassion on her because she's lost everything. Now, the other people around might have had compassion too, but from a distance. And they weren't really able to help in any meaningful way. They couldn't do anything. But Jesus, he does the unthinkable. He comes into contact with the dead man. He touches his coffin and he tells him to sit up. And he does. Jesus isn't contaminated by death. He's not affected by death. Jesus' life is so strong, so powerful, that when Jesus comes into contact with death, death comes to life. Death is wiped out. Now, do you know any people, any humans that have that kind of power, that kind of life? I don't. And neither did any of the other people there that day. When they saw this man come back to life, they were amazed. And they said, surely God is with us. Surely this man is not just any ordinary man. Nobody can touch death, speak to death and bring life except for God. And they saw that day that Jesus wasn't just a man who could work some incredible miracles. He is God himself. Jesus has the power to bring life where death is. And this is a picture. This is a picture for our hearts. Because naturally speaking, our hearts are places of death because of sin. Because of the things that we think and we say and we do to try and make ourselves more important than God. These things bring death. They mean that we are unable to be with God. But God has come to visit us. He has come to be with us. Jesus became a man and he died the death that we deserved. So he's taken death for us if we trust in him. And we can experience and know his incredible, strong, perfect life.
Oh, look, he's drawing!
Oh yes, I know who that is.
Look, it's the investigator looking round the corner.
Yeah, working out the facts, hearing the truth, Bill.
Finding out from the Bible what really happened.
He looks shocked.
Big mouth.
Oh, he's shocked at a catapult.
A catapult standing on its own.
Oh no, not a catapult, a crutch, Bill.
There it is! It's a man dancing. I would look shocked if I danced like that. You would look shocked.
No, he's leaping for joy.
Oh, he's a man who's been healed, that's why. Oh, like in today's story. The man who was dead was brought back to life by Jesus.
And he's brought a happy friend with a big piece of cardboard.
I'd be happy if I had a big piece of cardboard like that. It's a good piece of cardboard.
Good news.
It's good news!
Oh, donuts! Free donuts for everyone! Donuts as big as your head!
I don't think that's the good news. Look, it's the big hand. It's Jesus' hand. It's his good news.
Jesus has big hands. That's the good news.
No, it's not the good news. We learned today that Jesus raised the dead man to life. He came to love the widow. Jesus is the one who must be the king.
Jesus gives life, which only God can do.
Yeah, we did it!
We worked it out!
Well, here we are at the end of another day of investigating. We've answered 2 big questions about Jesus now. Yesterday, we learned Jesus is someone we need because he can forgive our sins. And today we've learned Jesus is a king, but he's not just an ordinary king. He's a king who knows us and who loves us and who wants to be our friend. Come back tomorrow for our next big question for investigation. And don't forget to do your actions videos. We're looking forward to seeing them all. See you next time.